call the meeting to order. Opening roll call, please.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of the regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting and between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mrs. Smith will be excused this evening, but we will reach out to her by phone and she'll join the meeting via phone. Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Do we have any reason to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we do. Items concerning pending litigation, attorney-client privilege, and personnel matters.
Okay. So at this time, at 6:37, we will close this portion of the meeting.
Penny's going to read
And
it.
Penny's going to read it.
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when a discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and circumstance under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
I call this meeting to order Tuesday, June 12th, 2018. Township Clerk, can I have the opening statement and take a roll call of the Student Township Council?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of this holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Student Council was provided for in the following manner. 1, by the posting of copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in Township Municipal Building on January 5th, 2018. 2, by the faxing of copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for more information and publication on January 5th, 2018. And 3, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5th, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. Special notice in accordance with the Fire Prevention Code. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Also, no food or beverage is permitted in this room. Roll call of Student Township Council. Student Council Member Jaden Bostick.
Present.
Student Council Member Sahil Meher.
Present.
Student Council Member Mahalia Suarez.
Present.
Student Council Member Riley Bornstein.
Present.
And Student Mayor Christopher Apt.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Government Day Proclamations. Proclamation, Adopt a Cat Month, June 2018, to be read by Student Council Member Jaden Bostick.
Whereas June is kitten season, a time each spring when thousands of newborn kittens join the millions of cats already in shelters across the U.S. And whereas at this time local animal shelters are full of cute, cuddly newborn kittens, as well as sweet, playful adult cats and mellow older cats just waiting for their forever homes. And whereas responsible ownership such as spaying and neutering pet cats will help to alleviate the staggering numbers of kittens and cats that fill the shelters. And whereas if you've been considering adopting a kitten or cat, now may be the perfect time to make that new addition to your family, or better yet, consider adopting two. Cats require exercise, mental stimulation, and social interaction. Two can provide this for each other when their human family is away from home. Now, therefore, Thursa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, does nearby proclaim June 2018 as National Adopt a Cat Month in Township of Howell.
Proclamation, Flag Day, June 14th, 2018, to be read by myself, Student Council Mayor Christopher Apt. Whereas in August 1949, United States President Harry Truman signed legislation to proclaim June 14th as Flag Day, and whereas people across America celebrate Flag Day each year to honor the United States flag and commemorate the flag's adoption on the same day the United States Army celebrates its birthday, and whereas the flag of the United States represents freedom and has been enduring the symbol of the country's ideals since its early days. On Flag Day, Americans remember their loyalty to the nation, reaffirm their belief in liberty and justice, and observe the nation's unity. And whereas many people honor this day by displaying the American flag at homes and public buildings, other popular ways of observing this holiday include flag-raising ceremony, school quizzes, and essay competitions about the American flag, street parades, and more. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of Township of Howell, does hereby proclaim June 14th, 2018 as Flag Day in the Township of Howell and encourage all students to proudly display their American flags. Thank you. Proclamation, American Eagle Day, June 20th, 2018, to be read by Student Council Member Riley Borenstein.
Whereas celebrated annually on June 20th, American Eagle Day commemorates the day in 1782 when the bird was added to the official seal of the United States. And whereas the American eagle or bald eagle was brought back from the brink of extinction in the 1990s after a nationwide conservation and protection effort. Due to the widespread use of pesticides such as DDT, illegal hunting practices, and the destruction of their natural habitats by human activity, the numbers of these majestic birds of prey fell to a mere 400 in the 1960s. And whereas after DDT was banned in the US and Canada, the number of birds started to grow. By 1995, they were removed from the endangered species list. Scientists estimate that there are now about 15,000 nesting pairs of birds in the United States. And whereas American Eagle Day is a special day to commemorate the anniversary of the bald eagle's selection as our national symbol, to celebrate its physical recovery to America's skies, and to observe the American values, ideals, and attributes for which it stands. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, does hereby proclaim June 20th, 2018 as American Eagle Day in the Township of Howell and encourages all citizens to appreciate this majestic symbol of our nation.
Proclamation, Eat Your Vegetables Day, June 17th, 2018, to be read by Student Council Member Sahil Mahir.
Whereas they come in every color of the rainbow, almost every imaginable shape and size, and the flavors they bring to the table are absolutely delicious. Eat Your Vegetables Day is dedicated to getting people eating their veggies, and also to spreading awareness to their diversity and necessity in a healthy diet. Whereas vegetables are a vital source of nutrients that are hard or impossible to get from an animal source, these nutrients can help to prevent heart disease and decrease bone loss, offset diabetes, and even improve the health of your hair and skin. Whereas the easiest way to celebrate Eat Your Vegetable Day is to ensure that vegetables play a major role in your diet for the day. Think vegetables can't be delicious? There are thousands of recipes to prove you wrong. So get out there and gobble up some leafy greens, chomp on a carrot, or serve up a nice bowl of legumes. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, does hereby proclaim June 17, 2018 as Eat Your Vegetables Day in the Township of Howell and encourages all citizens to enjoy vegetables as part of a healthy diet.
Thank you. Proclamation, Safety Month, June 2018, to be read by Student Council Member Mahalia Suarez.
Whereas June has been designated National Safety Month with the goal of drawing attention to safe practices that will decrease the likelihood of accidents, and whereas all citizens deserve to live in communities that promote safe and healthy living environments, safe communities require the cooperation of all levels of government, business, and industry employees, as well as the general public. And whereas the National Safety Council works to promote awareness of National Safety Month, which focuses on reducing leading causes of injury and death at work, on the road, and in our homes and communities, including distracted driving awareness, hazard avoidance, emergency preparedness, and preventing the abuse of prescription painkillers or other substances. And whereas the beginning of the summer season, traditionally a time of increased accidental injuries and fatalities, is an appropriate time to focus attention on injury risks and preventions. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, does hereby proclaim June 2018 as National Safety Month in the Township of Howell and encourages all citizens to establish and maintain safe practices in their homes, workplaces, and communities.
Thank you. Township Clerk Jillian Rogers to give the Township Clerk's report.
The Township of Howell is pleased to announce our Movies in the Park series will take place over the course of the summer on the following nights. Friday, July 13th, Jumanji. Friday, July 27th, Coco. Friday, August 10th, Black Panther. And Friday, August 24th, Wonder. For 2 weeks during the month of May, residents voted in Howell Township's Facebook page for You Pick the Flicks. This year was the first time the township had residents vote for the lineup of all 4 movies in the park. 15 different movies were chosen to be voted on and spanned different genres from animated, family-friendly, superhero, and throwbacks. With over 925 votes, You Pick the Flicks was highly successful in its first year. Our free movies will be shown at the Howell Library Hill, and approximate to showtimes begin around dusk. Bring the family, invite your friends, and come on out for a movie under the stars while enjoying our great community. Don't forget to bring your blankets or your favorite low-back lawn chair. Please bring non-perishable food items to be collected to benefit the local food banks. For more information, call 732-938-4500, extension 2106.
Does any member now of the Student Council have anything to report on? Student Council members can now give a report on any topic or report on your day here at Student Government Day.
Okay, today, as everyone knows, is Student Government Day. Today, all the students who came did various things. We enjoyed time with the people who run Howell. We learned many different things about our government, and we did many different stations, learning about how each person has a different role in this duty.
Thank you.
Today at Student Government Day, I found the paramedics demonstration very interesting because it demonstrated a lot of today's new technology. One example of this was the automatic CPR belt, and the way it works is it wraps around the patient's chest and then automatically does CPR, which allows paramedics to help other patients at once. Another good example of this was the electric-powered stretcher, which is capable of moving out of the ambulance, lowering, and then going back in on its own, which is safer for the patients and the paramedics for moving patients into the ambulance. And I thought this demonstration was interesting because it really showed the advantages of today's rapidly advancing technology and how we can use them for good.
In addition, the canine demonstration was also extremely interesting for all of the students. It was one of my favorite displays. The handlers demonstrated how their patrol dogs can pick up the scents of narcotics. I learned that the dog's toys have the specific drug or explosive that the officers need help finding. I found this to be truly amazing and helpful.
We got to meet a lot of important people that play big roles in the state. We got to meet freeholders and learn what they do, which is in New Jersey, they are the legislator in each of the 21 states in the counties.
Thank you. So we had a very eventful day being able to speak with many politicians in our town of Howell and doing many activities that helped us learn about how each individual plays a role in our community. I think this was a very beneficial day for all the students that were able to participate. And as a student, I would like to thank the Township of Howell for inviting us to be able to experience today. So now we will be having the hearing of the citizens for the Student Council government. Any member of the public can now come forward to the microphone and address the Student Government Council. Any questions?
Good evening, Mike Harvey, 216 Ramtown Greenville Road. I just want to say you all did a great job today, and especially tonight. You made Howell Township Public Schools proud. My question goes for any member of the council or mayor. What was your favorite part of the day?
I really enjoyed being able to, when we had breakfast, when all of the different politicians and the freeholders and the town clerk and everybody told us about their position, and we were able to see how they affected our town.
My favorite part was going around to all the booths and learning about what all the sections of the town do.
Well, my favorite part, as I said before, was the paramedics demonstration because of all the technology it used.
I liked witnessing the police dogs and seeing how intelligent and smart they were and like what they could do with their abilities.
I liked experiencing each station because it gave us another opportunity to learn something new about our government.
Overall, I think getting out of school and actually experiencing what the real world works was a great experience for all of us, because now we actually get to know like what different people in our community do to help each other and build each other up to keep our society going.
Thank you. Again, great job today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and students.
Hi.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. My name is Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. You probably don't know this, but I'm going to make you very aware of it. I have given Mr. Isola and your board a year or two ago the historic 1889 map of Howell. I have also given them the history, complete history that I have done for years of Howell Township and of the Estelle family who arrived in Howell on the ship called the Detrow on February 12, 1659. I would like a commitment from this council and you as mayor that you will see to it, because I've asked them, I didn't get a commitment out of them. I want you to see to it that every kid in every school in this district does a piece of that history. It's this thick. There's this much stuff. And then I would like to see it bound. I want to see it put in a book. I want to see a program and maybe a show. The kids of Howell Township got to be information savvy because the senior citizens in the villages passed the ordinance way back when you kids weren't even thought of yet, years ago. So us old fogies passed that information law that this township has above any other town in New Jersey. But I would like a commitment from you guys that this will be done. You are the mayor, you are the council. It is your obligation, it's your duty. Please see to it that every kid in every school, in every classroom gets a piece of this history because it's that thick, and let me tell you, you will be amazed. Howell is so historic that you kids have no idea. No idea. It goes many, many, many hundreds of years ago, and I would appreciate it, and I would love to be there when it's presented. Thank you. You did a great job.
We just want to say that we definitely have to consult with the council, the sitting council, but I think that would be a great idea, and I would be very interested in learning the history that you have to share.
Well, go and ask Mr. Isola and Mr. Martin, because they have it, plus the map. It's every historic name in Howell. every historic street, every historic name, it's people from Howell that was there hundreds of years ago. You will be absolutely amazed, but please see to it that this gets done. The kids in Howell need to know this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Berger, 222 Old Tavern Road. I want to say thank you all very much. You are very professional when you're sitting up there. You do a better job than we do, I think, sometimes. Don't you think, council? So I want to say thank you so much for being up there. And today was really very educational for me. Student Day was, I've been to a couple of them and different ages, so each age is you find different things, you learn different things. It was very pleasing to me and enjoyable to have a conversation with your student mates, your classmates. They were informative. They had a couple of thoughts on their own, and I thought that they conducted themselves today as professional as you do. So, if I may, Mayor, as Mayor, please, a round of applause for the students. Thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joseph Isola, 200 Squonkam Yellowbrook Road. First of all, congratulations. To echo the words that the people who spoke before us, you've done a great job and have given us all a source of pride. And the partnership between the municipal government and the mayor and the council and the town officials and our school district is better than ever, and it allows things like this program to continue. So we're very grateful for our township partners. Just a point of clarity, as the governing body of the municipal government here in Howell Township, you don't have the authority, in my opinion, to dictate curriculum. That is something that the school board and its committees do. And I would proudly report to you that our committee has met with Ms. Dixell on a number of occasions. She is absolutely a fabulous resource for this community. She's someone that I think very highly of. But I want you to know, as student government council members here tonight, that our district has met with the education committee and that we are working diligently to keep Ms. Dixell's hopes here very much alive and very relevant. So Mr. Harvey, our social studies coordinator who put this day together, has also done diligent work in this area. So I thank Ms. Dixell for her unwavering commitment to the history of Howell. But trust me, council, the Board of Education has this in good hands. So thank you for your time this evening, and have a successful rest of the evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any last questions? All right, now, moving right along, reading the essay by myself, Student Council Mayor Christopher Apt. So to be able to participate in today, we had to write essays. So I'm going to be reading the essay that got me accepted to be the mayor today. If I were mayor, I would create a youth center. So here we go. I have a voice, but nobody can hear me. I have ideas, but somehow I can't share them. I have a way to change my community, but no way to put these in action. Many kids feel like this every day because they feel since they are students, they have no voice in their government or community. If I were mayor, I would create a youth center to boost student civic engagement and get students involved in government and public service. At this youth center, kids would have the opportunity to take part and be in a group with their peers and discuss their ideas for the community. They will be able to participate in community service activities that will strengthen their relationship with the community and give a voice in the government. This is a good idea because it will give students a voice in their government, will strengthen their relationship between students and the community, and will teach leadership skills that will start the path to creating future leaders. To begin, I would create a youth center to give students a voice in the community. I believe that if I were mayor and other politicians in our community would be able to come and speak to the students and listen to their feedback and ideas for the community. With interaction between the mayor and the students, it would be beneficial both ways. It would give students the chance to share their ideas and thoughts with the mayor and give the mayor ideas of changes that can impact the youth for better. I believe as a student, having this would make myself and peers feel more involved in government and the community. To continue, I would create a youth center to strengthen the relationship between community and participating between students and their community. To begin, I would have members of the youth center help their community by participating in community service activities that will better the community, such as helping out at the local senior center. I would have the youth center actively visit the Howell Township Senior Center because I believe it is important for the senior citizens to interact with the youth and pass on their wisdom. They can host bingo lunches, set up for parties, which I have done at the youth center, and which I have personally done to host other events at the senior center. In addition, we could have the youth center hold food and clothing drives to donate. This will teach students the importance of giving back to their community. Lastly, I would create a youth center to teach leadership skills that will start the path to creating future leaders. We will discuss and teach leadership skills by having students participate in group activities that create scenarios that help them show how to be leaders in real-life events. In addition, we'd have students set up events that would help them raise money, such as clothing and food drives, as I stated earlier. We can also have STEM activities to show how leadership isn't just good by being standing on your own, but having to be beneficial when working in group activities. In conclusion, if I were mayor, I would create a youth center to boost student civic engagement and get students involved in student government and public service. This is a good idea because it will give students a voice in their community, will strengthen their relationship between students and the community, and will teach leadership skills that will start the path to creating future leaders. This is something I believe would be a good asset to the town of Howell. John Maxwell once said, "Leaders become great not because of their power, but their ability to empower others." I believe that at this youth center, this quote will be learned throughout all activities that are done. We can make a difference by starting a youth center. Thank you. So now we have Mayor Berger to acknowledge Student Government Day participants.
Okay, is Mayor Berger in the room? That really wraps up today's student government meeting.
Council, please come on up.
Stay put for the moment.
Oh, that council.
Mayor, do you want them to stay seated? Do you want them to come off the council?
Maybe we should go up to them and then we can... Thank you, sir. Yeah.
My daughter was here
Hi.
11 years ago.
How are you? Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Mayor.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
This is my seat. This is the hot
Be
seat.
careful.
This is
How
the
are
hot
you?
seat right here.
So I would like to present to the mayor, Christopher Abbott, Howell Middle School North, for participation in Student Government Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A certificate of appreciation will be presented to Riley Borenstein, the Howell Middle School North, for the participation in the Student Government Day 2018. Congratulations.
This is a certificate of appreciation to Mahalia Suarez for participation in the Student Government Day 2018. You did a better job than me today.
This is presented to Jaden Bostic, Howell Middle School North. Jaden, right here? Jaden, congratulations, good job.
And this is Sahil Meher for participation in Student Government Day as well.
And the toughest job of all was our township clerk, Jillian Rogers. Thank you so much. You did a wonderful job today. Okay, picture opportunity, perhaps.
Take us out, Mayor. Take us out. Ban that guy.
Right.
This meeting is adjourned.
That's it. That's control.
Good evening. I would like to open the meeting at 8:12. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And there was a shooting today of some children, so if we could have a moment of silence after the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
May 15th, I'll make a motion to accept them.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Are there any reports from the township officials?
Just a brief update on paving projects be given by Mr. Herman.
Jeez.
Mayor, just a quick update here. Last week, we were able to get Burgerville Road repaved, which was a long time in the making. Gas company was going over there and doing gas main work for the last 8 months. That came out very well. We're trying to stripe it tomorrow morning. However, with the rain anticipated, we're not sure if that's going to happen. Oak Glen Road has been under construction now for just as many months, and we started milling last week. The contractor rebuilt one lane from the railroad tracks to Route 547 today. Tomorrow they expect to do the other lane, and we should be paving by the end of this week. So that'll wrap that whole area up finally after many months of construction. So those are the two items I wanted to bring to your attention tonight.
Thank you. Are there anything from the council?
I'll have changes to the agenda, Mayor, before we move on.
Okay.
Mayor, one last thing I forgot to mention, Freewood
I'm
Acres
sorry,
Sewer.
You're done.
I'm sorry.
Your time is up, Jim. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're getting a hang on.
Learning.
Please.
We're actually out to bid with the Freewood Acres Sewer project, so we were advertising in the paper. I know contractors are already picking up plans and specs, so that's a very big step in moving this thing forward.
Thank you.
All the financing was put in place?
Yes, our side was.
Okay.
Penny?
Okay, Mayor, changes to the agenda. Additions that have been placed on the agenda from preliminary to the final agenda include Resolution 9A16, authorize return or restoration guarantee for a road opening permit, RO-18-100, 75 Sunnyside Road, $3,850. Resolution 9A17, authorize contract with Staples Advantage through Sourcewell Contract National Cooperative. Resolution 9A18, authorize execution of a cost-sharing agreement between the Township of Howell and Fire District Number 4 for charging a hydrant system in Soldier Memorial Park in the Township of Howell. Resolution 9A19, resolution authorizing the township manager to negotiate and finalize a settlement agreement in a form acceptable to the township governing body in the matter known as in the matter of the Township of Howell. Ordinance 11.5, authorize execution of an amended conservation easement regarding Block 183, lots 97, 98.01, and 98.03, Colts Neck Road. Those are your changes to your agenda, Mayor.
Thank you. Any reports from council?
I know we discussed in the past about the extra work details. I'd like to see a resolution on that for the next meeting if possible.
Yes, Councilman, I've been currently working on that. I'll have it ready for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment on the Howell High School Relay for Life that was held last Friday night. It was very well done by the students, the staff, all the families participated. To the best of my knowledge, they have collected, or raised rather, over $127,000 and counting. So these young adults are really moving forward and showing what their ability is and how they're going to move forward in our society. So
Good
I
stuff.
thank them.
It was great. It was a wonderful event.
Yeah.
Okay. I will open this portion of the meeting up to the hearing of citizens and public comment. Barbara Dixell?
Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey.
Yes, ma'am.
9A11. Tell me what that is.
Jim?
That's a release of a performance guarantee and waiver of a maintenance guarantee, just like it says, for a older development.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to save the rest of my comments for the public hearings on the ordinances, but I will say, I need to make a comment on something. Regarding the senior center and comments that were made at budget hearings and whatever afterward, I have to say, I'm addressing a council member. It was not necessary to go to the senior center on May 22nd to give them a presentation and offer them a package of moving the senior center to Howell Township Municipal Building and also offering them a gym. A good number of the seniors can hardly walk or exercise. They don't need a gym. The township manager told me very clearly for the second time that there are no plans for the Township of Howell or the council to do anything with the senior center. What the Howell Township Municipal Building needs is rent-paying tenants. Please leave the senior citizens alone. Thank you, and that's addressed to you, Mr. Walsh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Joan Osborne, please. Sure, sure. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and comment? At this time, I will close the public portion of the meeting and move on to the resolution, the consent agenda items.
I would like to give Councilwoman Smith a phone call. She just wanted to join in on the meeting
Sure.
prior to this,
Sure.
right before we did this.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Councilwoman Smith.
Good evening.
We're just about ready to go on to the resolution portion of the agenda, and away we go. You're on speaker.
Okay. Do you need me to vote on something tonight?
Yes, you'll be included in part of the meeting. So right now, we haven't started the resolutions. We're about to go into the consent agenda portion, which includes
Okay.
all the resolutions. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll make a motion for 9A1 through 9A19 and 9B1.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Okay. 10-1. Ordinance for future consideration on the public hearing. Ordinance number 0-18-7, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/5/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 5/18/18 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance. An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
I would like to open this portion up for public comment. I'll close this section.
Motion that ordinance number O-18-7 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the June 15, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 10-2. Ordinance number 0-18-8, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/15/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 5/18/18 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies are available to the general public upon request. I would like to open this portion up for public comment.
Right?
In a minute.
No, of course, we're going to do the title of the ordinance first. An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 4B, definitions and rules of general applicability, and Chapter 188, Article 10, Section 69, 69.1, 70, 71, 72, and 83 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open at this point public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Barbara Dixell, 628 Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Could you tell me more about the mother and daughter? I thought they were not permitted at one time, but could you tell me why it's being permitted now and what areas, and the reason why and what areas they're going to be permitted in?
Mr. Herman?
Sure. The ordinance is actually just solidifying what we already do for mother-daughter units. And we do not generally permit mother-daughter units, as they are typically turning into illegal double rentals or illegal two-family housing. What this does is says, if you do truly have a mother-daughter unit, and we do get quite a few requests for this, where we'll have an elderly parent or something that wants to live with the children and the family, we are setting the requirements that says it must be deed restricted to only be the, parents, or it must be a common doorway between the house so that you can't lock it and make it a rental, things of that nature. And we've been doing that for many years. This is actually solidifying the ordinance that goes along with it.
Okay, so will they be doing what they have to do in, say, developments like the Villages, have to get a form from the clerk's office, or have to get a form from your development to have to pay? They pay per year for $100 for rental, or for $100, they have to pay a certain thing. They have
Those
to
are for
register.
actual rentals. So that's for a landlord certificate and an actual rental certificate, which is different. So these aren't really rentals, they're mother-daughter units. So there's really not a fee, because they shouldn't be a rental. They should just be your elderly parent, grandparent, whatever it is, living with you in the same house.
Okay, and they would have to produce proof and no way of getting around it, like a little hanky-panky here and there?
Well, we hope not, but the reality is we're doing this ordinance to solidify our current stance,
Okay.
which is they're not permitted unless they truly are mother-daughter units.
Okay, and so would they have to produce proof, like, yeah, you are my mother, here's my birth certificate, or whatever, here's absolute
If
proof that I'm your
it
mother?
ever came to that, that would be a compliance issue down the road, should we get complaints. So if we have a complaint that someone's illegally renting a two-family or a single-family house, and we would go out there and inspect it and determine that they are not related, we would ask them for proof, and at that time, they couldn't produce it, we would issue violations.
Okay, and then, okay, because like, a neighbor, or say Aunt Tilly's nephew was gonna move in, and, whatever, you're gonna have a problem, and then, they wind up staying there for years. But
Correct.
You would have to have some definite proof along with this ordinance to make some additional definite proof in addition to this ordinance to make it sort of ironclad that they don't get away with anything they're not supposed to get away with.
Correct. We have that. And the people that are doing it are doing the right thing to begin with. They're the ones that are going to the county, placing a deed restriction notice with the county clerk's office, so it is on file. And that typically helps us when the property is sold, because we find numerous real estate agents who will advertise houses as legal two-family conforming houses when they are not. This will actually be something that comes up on a title search, so any good title agent that does a title search for the house when they're buying it will see that it's not a legal two-family rental. It's actually a mother-daughter.
What I'm talking to you about now will be included in this ordinance?
Yes.
And in the verbiage of the ordinance?
Yes.
So that make no mistake about it. Anybody,
Correct.
mother, daughter here, hand it to them, make sure you read it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'd like a motion.
Anybody else?
Is there anybody else out there that would like to comment on this ordinance? Let's close that portion.
Motion, you gonna read it? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. A motion that ordinance 0188 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption will be published in the June 15th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 10.3, ordinance number 0-18-9, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/15/18, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 5/18/18 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and copies are available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 7, Schedule 17-A, mid-block crossings, crosswalks of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I would like to open this portion for public comment. There being none, I'll close that portion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-18-9 be finally passed and adopted. The notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 6/15/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 10.4, ordinance number 0-18-10, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/15/18, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 5/18/18 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending and supplementing zoning, Chapter 188, Land Use Development, Article 11, Conditional Uses, Section 98, Telecommunications Facilities, adding new Section 98K entitled Placement of Small Cell Equipment and Wireless Poles in the Public Right-of-Way.
I'd like to open this portion of the public meeting.
Good evening, council members. Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street, Howell, New Jersey. I know the Environmental Commission submitted a letter on this proposed ordinance requesting that certain changes be made or considered before it be adopted. That letter stands on its own. I'm here tonight to speak on my own behalf regarding my thoughts on the ordinance. I have a concern that it's going to allow small cell equipment, mini towers in neighborhoods. I think the way that this is drafted right now, it clearly contemplates these poles, I guess they're being called, in residential areas, either where wooden poles already exist or by application for a variance where they may not exist. I have concerns that it would allow exposure to radiation on a 24-hour-a-day basis when we're at this point where this is relatively new technology. We don't know how it's going to impact small children, people who are pregnant, wildlife in the area. When you have exposure to non-ionizing radio frequency, there's, from my understanding, a possibility of thermal warming. I mean, if you've ever had the experience of having a long cell phone conversation, and when you are done, you feel your hand is warm, you feel your face is warm, because, not because this is a heater, but because it's bringing in these radiation frequencies. I don't know if any of you up there who have to vote on this, and you're the guys who have to vote on it, know at what levels it's considered safe or at what levels it's not safe. And I would suggest that if you don't know, that we should proceed cautiously, that we should not put this technology into neighborhoods outside on poles that may only be 50 feet away from someone's house, where cell traffic is going to be going and data is going to be going 24/7. Unless you're certain that it's going to be fine at any level, then go ahead and move forward. But I would suggest that you're probably not certain, because they haven't done a lot of studies yet on this. And I don't want Howell Township to be the guinea pig of finding out that it was really bad. It's a bad idea. We've had experiences like that in the past. I've been a long-time resident. We had asbestos in the schools. Everybody used to think asbestos was perfectly safe. Everybody used to think smoking wasn't going to harm you. We learn things over time. I think that we can proceed cautiously and not put this in neighborhoods right now.
Mr. Herman, I'm sorry, are you finished, Joan?
I'm just checking my notes.
Okay.
I did do some brief research, which is why I'm asking for more time on this. And there are peer-reviewed studies that indicate that some of the health problems that this can cause, and this includes the American Academy of Pediatrics, would be headaches, memory problems, dizziness, depression, sleep problems, potential cancers, brain development being altered, and hormonal changes. So, this is not something that is insignificant. And I understand that, people like technology and they want the best technology, but we could proceed slowly on this and try to do it in a way that protects our residents. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, did you want to talk a little bit about this, please? The ordinance.
Joe? Actually, Joe's going to take this one.
So, Mayor, with regard to this ordinance, excuse me, the ordinance itself requires licensees to provide information to the township manager, and through the township manager and township engineer, ultimately to the township council, indicating that they're fully compliant with federal regulations. That would include federal regulations relating to the RF radio frequency emissions. Now, just so we're all aware, under the Federal Telecommunications Act and under the New Jersey Radiation Protection Act, if these small cell nodes are compliant with federal regulations relating to RF emission frequencies, we are barred from considering the health effects, because under law, it's already been determined that that doesn't present harm to people. So if we were to now say that, establish a different standard for it greater than the Telecommunications Act and the regulations they're under, it would be immediately challenged and overturned. So, and that's why the Telecommunications Act reads the way that it does. We receive assurances from the cell carriers that they're compliant. If we find out that they're not, then we revoke their license and we require them to shut the facility down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. Before I'm going to say what I'm going to say, I have to address the side and the council. For many, many years, I testified at every zoning board hearing. I'm probably going back 20 years. I testified at every zoning board hearing with this much information on the ill effects of radiation, leaks, brain cancer, leukemia, pregnancies, whatever, and every single time, the applicant got up with his expert quote, and said, oh, we're compliant, it's federal law, and I got shot down. And you're going to get shot down again. The federal government said it's fine. Doesn't matter if the kid next year gets brain cancer. The federal government said it's fine. That's just the way this ordinance is, and they got away with it. What I want you to do is, please do not vote on this tonight. Table it. We need a public hearing of all House citizens. Everybody has to be able to get their voice in, and you owe it to the citizens of this town to offer us a public hearing. Not just a few handful of us that are here now, but you owe it to the citizens of Howell Township that have health problems, that have cancers, that have leukemias, that are going to wind up with this stuff sitting on their front lawn or in front of their house or down the street. You owe it to them. You owe it to all of us. Don't vote on this tonight. And whatever you do, please, we can't get this ordinance shoved down our throats because they say it's wonderful and whatever. No, it's not. You really have to do more research on this, and maybe I'll pull out some of the stack of stuff that I have from years, from very detailed case histories in this country, in Russia, in different countries, and it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So, but I'll pull some of that stuff out and deliver it. But please, postpone the vote. Do not vote on this tonight. We need a public hearing of all Howell Township citizens and publicize it very, very well, because the citizens of this town have a right to speak and a right to be heard, especially on this one. It's going to cause massive problems. Thank you very much.
So, with all due respect, I'm on the American Cancer Society's website, and in just quickly glancing it, the American Cancer Society is not advocating for us to not do this. I mean, they're not saying, they're saying that the possible radiation is similar to what's currently, or less than what's currently being emitted from the towers that are currently there, and you probably have more damage from a cell phone versus the tower.
I'm going to go pull out.
But
I'm going to go pull out all the cell tower stuff I have. That's not American Cancer Society stuff. This is actual cell tower stuff that's been studied, that's been looked at, that's been researched.
Well, again, there's right here, in another study, researchers compared a group of more than 2,600 children with cancer to a group of similar children without cancer. And they found that the town that could have exposed them to higher than RF radiation from cell towers in previous 5 years had a slightly higher risk of cancer, although not any certain type of cancer, such as leukemia or brain. And it says the study estimated the children's possible exposure based on the number of towers in the town and how strong the signals were. They do not have full results in this. Again, it is a newer technology, and again, it is newer technology than the towers that have been there for 15 years.
Mayor, I'll also tell you that there's a story on the news, I don't know which country it is, it may be China, it may be one of the countries. Again, it happened, I think in it happened in one of the countries that our people that were there on assignment got sent home with brain damage from radio waves, probably aimed at them or something. They just got sent home with brain damage from radio waves and whatever, cell waves, whatever went through the hotel rooms and whatever, probably was done on purpose, who knows? But our people got sick, and they got sick in another country just months ago. But now they were just this week sent home with brain damage from radio waves. You got to think about this.
I am, and it says the amount of exposure from living near a cell phone tower is typically many times lower than the exposure from using a cell phone.
Okay. Well, if you have a sick kid and you have a kid that's prone to getting things and picking up God knows what else from the environment, you may have a sick kid from radio waves as well. You know, you may get a kid that's going to pick up the radio waves, a kid that's got other immune stuff, other compromised health problems. One sick kid is going to pick up the waves from these towers and maybe get worse, or any type of cancers, leukemias, brain damage, or anything else. I don't care what they say. That you have to, like I said, our people were just sent home from a country with brain damage from radio waves, which I'm sure was done purposely. Thank you. Please don't vote on this tonight. Give
Thank
us the
you.
chance of a public hearing. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Paul Dorado, 27 Firestone Drive. I just wanted some clarity. Full disclosure, I was in the environmental meeting with Mr. Herman, but I wasn't too sure on the clarity of if these towers were installed in developments that had underground utilities and non-supporting infrastructure, where exactly would they be put?
Permitted to apply for a variance from that. Generally, they're prohibited from putting them in places where there's underground facilities, but if they can come before the planning board or zoning board and demonstrate a need, then they would be allowed to place a pole there.
So for example, if it was going in development in the public area with a homeowners association and was put, say, in a common area.
It has to go in one of our public rights-of-way. This regulates the placement of small cell facilities in the township's rights-of-way. So to the extent that that might be private property, this ordinance would have no application or effect to that. It regulates our rights-of-way and it gives us control over it, as opposed to them just going ahead right now and applying to planning or zoning to do just what they can do.
And they would actually have to go to the zoning board for a variance.
Okay. No, I'm just concerned was like on the association, if we had to deal with this, this would just be.
That would be a private matter then, as long as this is solely for the township's rights of way. What's happening around the country is that companies are coming in and getting consent, and once you give one company consent, then you lose control over your ability to regulate placement from each other and everything like that. This gives us out of the gate ability to have some sort of control over all of this.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Jerry Barron, 37 Danella Way. I just wanted to give you a little fact that Mr. Herman told us. Usually cell towers are maybe, 60, 80 feet in the air or something like that. These are going to be telephone poles that are 25 to 30 foot high and could be right in front of your house. That is not very good for health, I'm sorry. I don't want it in front of my house. I don't know if you want to volunteer to be the first one to have it in front of your house, but I don't want it in front of my house. And that's what concerns me. They're lower than usual. And they're not monopoles. I think, Mr. Herman, you said other companies could join in and have a multiple pole and have four utilities on one, or
No, what I had mentioned in the meeting, and just so the mayor and council are aware, I had a meeting with Ms. Osborne, Mr. Dorado, Mr. Barron, and one other gentleman.
Hold on,
no.
Jerry Bluestein. Yeah.
Jerry Bluestein, and kind of went over this with them, just to kind of give them a general synopsis of what's going on, why we're doing it, as Mr. Clark had already mentioned, trying to prevent the Wild West. So the small cell nodes are going to be very similar to what an electrical transformer would look like on a wooden telephone pole. So if you have a 35-foot high wooden telephone pole with a transformer, that's almost very similar to what these small cell node places will look like. They can't go higher than, I believe it's 6 feet higher than the existing poles. Typically, they'd want to be as high as they can, but we can't have it stick out where there's a 70-foot pole next to 35-foot wooden telephone poles. So it's basically meant to blend into the area. There's a chance for co-location. I don't know if that would totally happen. That's going to be up to the other carriers to talk and work together. But in reality, these are going to look like electrical transformers that you probably wouldn't notice a difference if you're driving down the street. So that's what we're trying to regulate here, is to make sure that, we have some sort of control over this before we get an applicant that comes in with a 120-foot monopole, which is basically a cell tower, which we don't want. So, and these are not going to be installed in the meetings we've had with the utilities. These are not going to be installed on every telephone pole. These are looking to fill gaps for what they call network exhaust. Network exhaust means that everyone in this entire room is on their cell phone right now using data. Everyone's using Wi-Fi and the whole nine, and there's gaps. And those gaps are because there's too many people using data plans and cell phones at this time. And what's happening is cell phone calls are being dropped. Your service, if all of a sudden you know that you're in an area where you always have 4G, LTE, and you look at your phone and you have 2 bars and you can't figure out why, that's because there's 10,000 people using the same data source right now, and they need more capacity. So these small cell nodes are meant to pick up that network exhaust and boost the signal or give you more opportunities for your cell phone to connect. Okay, they talk to the big cell towers, and the big cell towers still do what they always do. This is totally separate and distinct from large cell towers. These are only for these small nodes that we're talking about. I do believe these are in the city quite a bit now. They're on the sides of buildings. They look like boxes on the sides of buildings. We live in the country, or more of the country compared to the city, and they need to put these somewhere to start filling in the gaps. So that's what we're trying to do tonight is really start regulating, as Mr. Clark said, these applications so we don't have somebody put one up without our permission, and then that gives us trouble down the road.
How far apart do these poles have to be? 300 feet separate from one another? Or?
I believe it's 500 feet, Joe?
I think it's 500.
500 feet.
And just to further amplify Mr. Herman's comments, first, in our location process, the preference is for co-location, so that we don't have a node on every pole. If that can't happen, then we've established an order of priority, and it would be on a township-owned pole, which contains all the antenna and equipment, and then it works its way down to where they could install a pole. But our preference is that they not just come in and install poles, but that they use existing poles as it is, and then that they space them out with this 500 feet. So that way, as you said, you don't want a node on every pole. So this gives us some control over a process that, frankly, the carriers could go in front of zoning right now and initiate. So it just gives us some opportunity as a township to have some say over what happens.
Would the township charge per pole? If it's a new pole going up, would you charge the company?
It's broken down into 2 portions. First, there's a master license, which would essentially allow them the right to operate within the township rights of way. And then for each individual site, they would need a separate small cell site facility license. And for that license, the township charges $500. And then they also have to put up a $2,000 escrow. And that allows for our professionals to do a review of it and to study it. If we need to, if there's any sort of esoteric information involved, we have under the ordinance the right to employ third parties, experts, to assist us in understanding what it is that the companies are talking about. So there's protections built in so that we're not just saying, yeah, put this here, put that there. So there's full involvement in the process before the engineer can make a recommendation to the council, yes, grant this small cell site or license.
Okay, just for the record, I think in 1996 was the last time the government chose to monitor, test radio frequencies. Just something else, I'd like to thank you, a different flavor here, but I'd like to thank everyone for their help with the Green Team. We did submit the Green Team on June 3rd, and it's in Sustainable Jersey's hands now. I think we should get recertified, but I'd like to thank all the people on my left there that participated, in the OEM, the police, fire for that matter, Department of Public Works. Maybe I forgot somebody, I'm sorry, but I'd like to thank everybody for their efforts because it was a kind of rush at the end, but we did it. And we did have, I believe, over 200 points, maybe 230, something like that. We need 150, so hopefully there won't be any, there's probably going to be some tweaking done by Sustainable Jersey. They want more information or something, so I might need your help again, but right now, hopefully I won't get too much of that. But I'd just like to thank you for all of that. And thank you for your efforts from the committee.
Thank you. So I just want to repeat what I think I heard from from our professionals. So what you're saying, what I think I heard was that if we do not approve the ordinance, any company could still come in and put a tower in.
That's correct, and then we lose control over a lot of the aspects of it that we're trying to regulate right now.
So this is not saying, this ordinance is not basically saying, please come in and put a small tower in. This is saying, if you're going to come in, then you're
Right.
going to have to follow our regulations.
That's
otherwise-
exactly right. That's exactly right. We have a two-step process. Like I said, we have the master license, and that requires certain information in the application. And then on the site-specific license, that requires more information. And it also requires notice to owners, and copies of all the applications will be kept in the township offices, so they're available for people to see, and all of the supporting documentation. So it's certainly an open process. This isn't a, please come to Howell and install your, communications equipment.
And just one more question, I'm sorry. So subsequent question to that would be, if someone was going to put a tower in, they would have to go to the zoning board, and then that would be an open hearing?
This does not relieve any telecommunications carrier of any responsibility for compliance with any of our ordinances, any county regulations, any state or federal regulations. So they have to be fully compliant with every aspect of their duties as a carrier. And so this is just another added layer of regulation.
So then it could occur that if they go to zoning board, that it might not get approved at the zoning board if it's not following all of the criteria that we need for that area. For
Right, so-
example, if it's in a residential area.
Right, so for
versus
example, if
not.
they apply for a use variance and the zoning board determines that they don't satisfy the criteria for a use variance, it can be denied. They may appeal and they may win, but certainly that's a zoning board decision. They still have the ability to do what they do with regard to those types of applications. We just have our own responsibility now to get an idea of where everybody's going to be putting things and gathering information from them. So, and it allows us, like you said, to space them out more than might have normally happened.
If someone was going to come to you, let's say Verizon was going to come to you with the plan for this, do they give you a whole plan or they go poll by poll?
They may have an overall plan for, what they think they would like to do in Howell, but typically that changes over time, and that's why we require, in addition to the general master license, we require a site-specific license, so that way we know you're coming into this site, now tell us why you should be allowed to put a pole in our right-of-way on this site. We can always deny it. We have that right under the Telecommunications Act, but we have to give them reasons in writing, and they can appeal it, or they can go into court and sue. But this doesn't eliminate our discretion. It's not a matter of file the application and get the license. So there's consideration that goes into it, and ultimately it'll be the township engineer and professionals that make a recommendation to the council whether or not to grant one.
Okay, thank you very much. Please.
Jerry Dixell of Villages, 62 IP Piazza Victoria. Which company is going to come in, Verizon or AT&T?
This would apply to any carrier that wants to put in a ODAS, small cell node, that type of thing. It doesn't regulate any particular carrier.
Because we have lines underground. In other words, they're going to dig up the ground in order to put these poles in?
No, this is for wireless, Jerry. This is not for your home phone.
No, I'm not talking about the home phone.
No, this is wireless, so it's going to go on existing poles.
We don't have any. All we have is JCP&L.
You may not get a tower unless they want to come and put a tower up, and then there's another process for that.
And who pays for that?
The company.
Okay.
Double espresso?
In a moment. If an applicant comes to the zoning board with an application for one of these things, towers, gizmos, or whatever you want to call it, they're kind of come in with a battery of experts. They do what they've done for the past 20 years that I've testified at. And it doesn't make a difference what you say, they shoot you down anyway. Is somebody from this council going to come to the zoning board hearing to address whatever applicant is there with the ordinance that you may and may not pass?
The law states that we need to stay out of the zoning board decisions. You know that, Barbara.
I'm just asking, no, I don't know.
You know that.
No, I don't. but now I do. Thank you.
You always did know that, come on. That one's not fair. You know the zoning board is totally autonomous from the governing
I
body.
didn't know that the governing body could not come in. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Now I do not. Thank you. No, all right, anyway, all I'm asking for again, please give us a public hearing. Don't vote tonight.
And there will be a public hearing when the application comes in, either at the board or at the council. And let me just give you another food for thought. You know, technology advances all the time. We all use cell phones. We've heard these fear-mongering, claims for over 20 years. That everybody was going to have brain cancer and whatever else they claimed. And yet, as parents and grandparents, we all give our kids phones. We don't want them to go to school without a phone. So the technology today is a necessity for society today. And unfortunately, in rural areas, we've always kind of been behind the 8 ball because we're rural, and that's why phones will always drop, because we were always fighting cell towers. So I think the technology is advancing. It helps rural areas stay and better serves the community when this technology is here for us that we all became dependent on. There is a process in place. There is a protocol where you have to go and you have the right to be heard at any planning board or any zoning board or even at the council. So, I understand fear, but we've been hearing this fear-mongering and everything for over 20 years. The technology's there, and we've all become reliant on it. You don't leave home without your cell phone.
Believe it or not, I do.
You're one of few.
Believe it or not, I do. I'm very happy. Just give me a carrier pigeon and a stagecoach. I'm very happy.
And you got Jerry.
I don't like those things. They can't even give me an updated model. I don't want to know from it.
We're still looking for that bog turtle across the township of Howell, $2 million. Anybody find that bog turtle yet?
We have 100-pound, 100-year-old snapping turtles in the Manasquan River, down the riverbank from the villages, that come crawling out and have to be carried back to the river with 2 men and a garbage can cover because they're huge monstrosities and they snap and bite you. That we get them all the time.
Be careful out there.
Anyway, though, just asking for...
Good cover for you, Barbara.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Anyway, maybe the people of this town, before it gets to a zoning board, give them a chance to say something.
But I think what we've just heard, though, I think that if we don't put an ordinance in place, that they're going to come in, they can come in at any time and put it anywhere they like.
Okay, fine.
Versus us dictating where it could be put.
Well, then, have a public hearing after the fact.
What is this, Barbara?
This
Or
is the
public
public
hearing.
hearing. This
Is
is a
it?
public hearing, and when you go to the board, you have a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up too, in addition, on each of the specific site licenses, there's going to be a public hearing for that. So, multiple
We read the ordinance.
A public hearing here or a public hearing at a board?
Here.
Here, the township council issues the licenses.
Okay, so in addition to advertising your meeting, you're going to advertise it specially, on your website, or is it special public hearing?
No, they're not special public hearings. It'll be on the regular agenda to issue a site-specific license.
Thank you.
You closed it?
No.
No.
One more thing.
By Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street. I had a question about some of the points the Environmental Commission had made. One of them was the length of the license. I saw a very similar ordinance that was passed, I believe, in Little Silver that had a 5 to 7 year license. And I was wondering, what is the reason that we have a 25-year license period?
It's not, it's a shall not exceed 25 years.
Oh,
So it's up to...
do you know what the period's going to be?
There's discretion in terms of it.
Is it going to be based on the applicant, or is it going to be a uniform?
On the master license, I anticipate having some sort of master template. That's the whole point of the master licenses. It's not going to be individually negotiated. The site-specific licenses will probably have more factual differentiation, but the master license allowing people to come into town in the first place is likely to be very straightforward and standard.
Well, do you have a time period that you contemplate it being? Because there's revenue to the town involved in how often these are renewable, so... I would
No, there's-
advocate for a shorter term rather than,
Just to make sure, we are prohibited from charging license fees on an annual basis. We can recover costs reasonably related to each particular project. So what we've established is an initial fee of $500 plus a $2,000 escrow that our professionals can bill against. And if it needs to be replenished, it needs to be replenished. But we're not going to be getting an annual fee. That's prohibited by the Telecommunications
oh,
Act.
so that first 500 is just part of the escrow that you bill against for your review time?
No, it's related to the initial cost of the master license and to recover some of the review. There's some aspect of the escrow, but we don't get an annual fee from it like we would, on some of our cell tower leases. But when we allow them to come into the right of way, we can't charge an annual fee for that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would like to close this portion.
I'll make a motion that ordinance number O-18-10 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 6/15/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Introduction.
Introduction of ordinances.
11-1, 2018 bond ordinance for general capital improvements. Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-11 on first reading by title, and order the same to be published in the 6/15/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing at a meeting of Township Council will be held on 7/17/18 at 7:30 PM prevailing time, municipal building.
Second.
Title, Bond Ordinance Providing for Various Capital Improvements and the Acquisition of Various Capital Equipment Appropriating $4.3 million, therefore, and authorize the issuance of 4,085,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Next one is 11.2, motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-12 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 6/15 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/17/18 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title, Bond Ordinance Providing for the Rehabilitation of Pump Stations and the Acquisition of Sewer Utility Equipment Appropriating $550,000, therefore and authorizing the issuance of $522,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
11.3, amend salary ordinance for superior officers. Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-13 on first reading by title and order the same to be published in the 6/15/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. It'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing and meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/17/18 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title, an ordinance setting forth and amending, supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 11.
11.4, motion to introduce ordinance number 01814 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the June 15th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on July 17th, 2018, 7:30 PM, prevailing time at the municipal building.
Second.
Title, an ordinance authorizing the public sale of certain property owned by the Township of Howell not required for public purposes to the County of Monmouth pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13.4. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
11.5, ordinance number, authorize execution of amended conservation easement regarding blocks 183, lots 97, 98.01, and 98.03 on Colts Neck Road. Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-15 on first reading by title in order the same to be published in the 6/15/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. That will be further considered for final passage at the public hearing and a meeting of the Township Council be held on 7/17/18 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, authorizing the execution of an amended conservation easement regarding property identified as lots 97, 98.01, and 98.03 in Block 183 on the official tax map of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business? No? For information, the municipal offices will be closed Wednesday, July 4th, 2018 for Independence Day. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, July 17, 2018, executive session at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.